Profound transformations are on the horizon, as the potent energy of Ophiuchus relentlessly surges into the zodiacal system, heralding a time when the ancient fears of Taurus will be shattered. Until November 2025, individuals born under this zodiac sign will experience an unprecedented liberation. They will shed the burden of chronic fatigue, cease passively enduring circumstances that have weighed them down, and suddenly discover that money, true love, and a deep sense of purpose are coming their way. This will feel like a complete renewal, as if life is starting afresh, resetting everything from the past. The upcoming period is not merely a series of isolated events, but rather a fundamental reassembly of the personality, so profound and all-encompassing that at times, those around them will scarcely recognize the transformed individual they once knew. And this, without a doubt, will unfold in the most positive and favorable way. It marks the end of an entire era, which can be called the Age of Pisces, a time when an invisible burden had to be silently carried, enduring, waiting, and demonstrating extraordinary patience for the sake of family well-being, for the sake of ephemeral stability, or simply because unwritten rules and societal expectations dictated it. However, the powerful energy of Ophiuchus, rapidly entering the established zodiacal system, will now initiate those radical steps that individuals of this sign would never have dared to take on their own. This force will lead them beyond familiar boundaries and comfort zones, doing so with surprising delicacy and almost imperceptible ease, avoiding abrupt shocks and excessive drama. Yet, its impact will be remarkably precise, targeting the deepest aspects of existence. As a result, Taurus will finally exit survival mode, where every day was a test, and enter a new, dynamic phase, a mode of active action and creation. Thus, until November, when Jupiter enters Ophiuchus, a unique opportunity is presented for a complete internal reassembly and reformatting of one's essence. Most importantly, the universe itself, like an unseen conductor, will guide and support this process, ensuring favorable conditions for transformation. This grand metamorphosis will commence on July 7, when Uranus enters Gemini. True resilience and steadfastness, as it turns out, lie not so much in static, unchanging stability, but in the remarkable ability for deep, fundamental change, for adaptation and rebirth. Individuals born under Taurus have historically tended to hold firmly to established orders and familiar boundaries. This is an inherent part of their fundamental nature. But their conservatism is not a manifestation of capriciousness or stubbornness, it is rather a testament to their innate reliability, groundedness, and loyalty to principles. However, even a virtue like reliability can have its downside, its invisible cost. And this cost often manifests as chronic exhaustion, a sense of hopelessness due to limited choices, and, most importantly, deep, hidden fears that shackle the soul. It is precisely these internal barriers, these invisible chains, that represent the very fears that have held them back from true freedom. Now, Uranus, entering Gemini, prompts Taurians to deeply re-evaluate the very concept of security, forcing them to look at it from a completely new angle. Where passive endurance was once required, it is now imperative to declare a decisive, enough. The essence is not in impulsive decisions, but in a conscious cessation of self-deception. This is the key moment. The familiar state of affairs does not always mean it is beneficial. It should be clearly understood, what seems familiar does not necessarily serve one's well-being. These transformations will affect relationships within the family, in the professional sphere, and among close acquaintances. Those who previously shamelessly exploited others' kindness and compliance will now unexpectedly begin to lose their influence. Conversely, individuals who demonstrate a willingness to respect another person's individual rhythm, opinion, and interests will come to the forefront. For instance, if in the past a Taurus had postponed launching their own project for years, perhaps due to fears of not being able to handle the workload, they will now possess an unwavering confidence in their own resources, allowing them to take a calculated risk, not blindly, but with careful consideration. Similarly, if a woman has lived for many years by the principle of, "I must endure," she will now fundamentally change this mindset. The limit of patience is reached not in a fit of hysteria, but through a clear, systematic process of establishing order. They will not only clear physical clutter from their homes but also shed outdated social roles, the role of the burden-bearer, the the perpetually silent one, and the one forced to adapt to others' desires. The astrological influence of Ophiuchus exerts pressure on the 8th house of the horoscope, an area symbolizing dependence, external control, and psychological debts. Everything that was held together by guilt and overwhelming fears must be completely nullified and erased. Taurus will no longer give away what is theirs. This applies to material resources, emotional resources, and personal space. Absolutely everything will be under their vigilant control. Taurus men will undergo similar internal transformations, manifesting not in open disputes or confrontation, but in decisive yet silent actions. They will methodically restructure family roles, shed burdensome obligations, and cease to tolerate a state of invisibility in relationships and society. Their changes will occur subtly but with unwavering determination. The influence of Ophiuchus is felt through the 10th house of the horoscope, an area traditionally associated with status, public influence, and personal responsibility. As a result of this impact, Taurus will cease to be a passive executor of others' desires and a guarantor of universal comfort. They will systematically take the reins of their own lives, establishing new priorities. Family obligations will no longer be perceived as an unbearable burden, and professional activities will cease to be a heavy load. Everyone who previously relied on their selfless help or burdened them with their problems will clearly hear a firm statement, "I am busy with my own affairs." One of the most significant aspects of this transformation is the complete disappearance of fear. At this stage, it will literally burn away, leaving only the ashes of past anxieties. Everything that ever held Taurus back, be it the fear of losing love, authority, or stability, will now recede, as internal fear no longer controls them. They will gain something far more valuable, an unbreakable inner foundation and complete control over their personal territory. This is how the energy of Ophiuchus manifests. Its impact may not always appear graceful, but it is always final and irreversible. At the same time, the energy of Ophiuchus does not push Taurus towards reckless rebellions or destructive actions. Instead, it activates a reasonable, well-founded firmness within them, expressed in a clear realization, "This is enough. It's time to live by my own rules." As the influence of Ophiuchus continues to grow, residual fears will inevitably dissipate, giving way to new confidence. The culmination of this period will be August 11th, when Mercury ends its retrograde motion. This astrological aspect marks a favorable time to put everything and everyone in their rightful place. Taurians will regain their fundamental tool, pure, unclouded rationality, allowing them to act with maximum clarity and efficiency. Before August, consciousness was often in a fragmented state, characterized by a sense of complexity, though not total, significant anxiety, and most importantly, a lack of clarity and precision. However, with the arrival of this month, a kind of internal reorganization process is observed. A significant number of people will begin to solve problems that seemed insurmountable for many years. This includes financial obligations, housing issues, or the settlement of legal disputes. Or simply, time will be found to start long-delayed renovations, change living circumstances, move, or finalize property rights. What previously caused deep concern is now perceived as a familiar working environment, as an ordinary task requiring a calm, consistent, and unhurried approach. Women, exhausted by a permanent state of tension, will finally loosen their iron grip. They will realize that they can no longer exist at the limit of their capabilities, constantly depleting themselves. They will also give up the futile hope that someone will intuit their deepest needs. These women will stop hiding their natural desire to be loved, no longer concealing themselves behind an endless cycle of routine tasks and burdensome responsibilities. They will strive to make up for lost time not through emotional outbursts or absurd demands, but through a deep return to their true essence, to their own nature. In their posture, in their movements, in their reaction to male interest, eyes that radiate a lively sparkle will reappear, and a gait that suggests not only habitual movement but also a genuine zest for life, true grace. They will no longer feign ease, they will truly acquire it, not for everyone, but for those chosen few with whom they can reveal their authentic, unfeigned nature. During this period, a woman transforms, realizing that love is not a sign of weakness, but a vital energy without which a full life is impossible. Taurus men, during this time, will particularly acutely feel the limits of what is permissible in relationships and interactions. They will no longer be inclined to suppress internal irritation or remain silent when others cross the line. With firmness, but without excessive confrontation, they will clearly and distinctly define their boundaries, relying on inner strength. Regardless of whether it is acceptable to others or not, this will be the state of affairs. Individuals of this zodiac sign will be able to confidently put even their superiors and colleagues in their place, refusing to be invisible executors of others' wills. Some will decide to resign, others will achieve significant career breakthroughs, and still others will, for the first time, set a worthy price for their labor, as tolerating injustice or succumbing to fear no longer aligns with their changed nature. At the same time, stepping over others will not be their method. However, the ability to put anyone in their place, acting calmly, argumentatively, and to the point, will become natural for them. The main thing here is to act without excessive emotions, maintaining deep self-respect. At this crucial moment, one must not succumb to the usual mindset, as long as it doesn't get worse. Because it is no longer worse. Now, the opportunity opens to build one's life according to one's own rules. The influence of Ophiuchus helps to separate true desires from externally imposed expectations. The individual ceases to be a source of energy for others' ambitions and plans. August 21st marks the period when Mars moves into Gemini. The focus shifts to the theme of money. Indeed, how can one do without it? Financial flows rush to where there is active energy, where there is a desire for development and creation. Conversely, where emptiness reigns and there is no genuine desire to earn, money will neither appear nor linger. The influence of Mars leaves Taurians with no choice, either they take decisive action, or they continue to stand still, constrained by fear. In the best sense of the word, favorable timings emerge, opportune circumstances arise, and a powerful internal demand forms. And Taurus, who was previously characterized by slowness and taking a long time to get started, will suddenly demonstrate surprising speed in moving towards their goals. Some will embark on a new project, some will emerge from the shadows, ceasing to be shy about their own ambitions, and some will finally come to a deep realization, if not now, then never. Men born under the sign of Taurus will, during this period, dare to make serious career breakthroughs, leave behind burdensome or toxic workplaces, establish individual enterprises, acquire necessary tools and equipment, and deepen their knowledge through education. Women, on the other hand, will stop economizing on themselves, actively investing in their health, updating their wardrobe, improving their image, developing professional skills, enhancing their level of comfort, in short, in everything that brings them pleasure, is necessary, or beneficial. Moreover, for women, even more so than for men, it is extremely important not to seek approval from anyone, it is completely unnecessary. Support will certainly come, but later, when the first results become evident, and they will undoubtedly be achieved. The influence of Ophiuchus bestows a sense of omnipotence, I can, and Mars provides the necessary impulse. This powerful combination acts with astonishing speed. A significant astrological event will be September 7th, the lunar eclipse in Pisces. During this period, intuition will guide the right path. Although Taurians are traditionally reluctant to delve into their feelings unless they feel completely safe, September facilitates the unveiling of what has long remained hidden. Notably, this process occurs not in their usual hysterical manner, but with surprising calm. Relationships gain clarity, and old grievances gradually dissolve. Those who previously suffered from unresolved situations begin to forgive, both themselves and others, not because it is required, but because holding on to the burden of the past simply becomes uninteresting and meaningless. Taurus women will stop tolerating emotionally distant partners, while Taurus men will unexpectedly show greater softness, warmth, and openness. All these changes in no way weaken them, on the contrary, they facilitate contact with living, authentic feelings and allow them to transcend formal roles. The influence of Ophiuchus grants the ability to bravely say, I'm not well, without any shame, or conversely, I'm well, without feeling the need to apologize. On September 21st, the sky will reveal a solar eclipse in Virgo. This cosmic event promises rewards for those who possess patience and the ability to wait for the opportune moment. It is here that individuals of the Taurus sign find themselves in their true element. The earthy energy of Virgo provides them with powerful support in pragmatic matters, financial affairs, the organization of daily life, resource management. All of this begins to yield tangible results. Those who have toiled diligently for many years without immediate returns will suddenly find their efforts rewarded. They will receive bonuses, promotions, or enticing offers. Some will successfully pay off old debts, others will bring complex and large-scale projects to a logical conclusion, and some will, for the first time in their lives, allow themselves the luxury of a full vacation without economizing on its enjoyment. Taurus women will actively improve their living conditions, acquiring new furniture, modern appliances, or creating a cozy atmosphere. Taurus men will begin to approach spending with greater awareness, directing funds not towards demonstrating status, but towards achieving concrete results. At the same time, the influence of Ophiuchus strengthens their inner confidence, bestowing the feeling, "I handled it." Life, although becoming more predictable, certainly does not become duller. Calmness ceases to be associated with stagnation and transforms into a valuable resource. This becomes the final, decisive step towards Taurus's happiness. October arrives, and Pluto moves into retrograde in Aquarius. This astrological position carries a message: stop carrying others' burdens. This aspect symbolizes the last obstacle that needs to be released. In October, Taurus will have the opportunity to close all unfinished business, ceasing to take on others' problems. It is important to note that this does not mean abandoning loved ones or betrayal, but merely returning responsibility to where it belongs. Such changes affect family relationships, professional activities, and partnerships. This will be particularly acute in areas where Taurus has long acted as a support, but has been relied upon exclusively in a one-sided manner. Individuals of the Taurus sign, whether women or men, will gradually stop taking on an unbearable burden of family responsibilities or thoughtlessly rushing to help everyone around them. A deep realization will come to them: true help is not an unconditional duty, but a conscious choice, and boundless patience ceases to be a viable strategy if it begins to destroy one's inner world. During this period, Taurus will transition to living according to their own unwavering principles, resolutely rejecting everything that has lost its effectiveness or become destructive. Finally, a genuine, liberating understanding will emerge. An individual is not obliged to meet anyone's expectations, they possess the full right to choose, and they do not need to account to anyone or conform to others' frameworks. Such an epiphany bestows invaluable inner harmony, gradually dissolving and expelling all accumulated fears. Calmness, devoid of anxiety, is an exceptionally rare and valuable resource. It occurs when a person no longer needs to prove anything to anyone, when they achieve complete self-acceptance and cease to depend on the evaluations or opinions of others. This state can confidently be called true, mature, natural astrological, and even universal freedom. It is during this fateful period that the energy of Ophiuchus manifests with particular power, decisively displacing the last vestiges of fears, be it the fear of loneliness, the apprehension of making a mistake, or the anxiety of judgment from others. The individual stops clinging to the deceptive illusion of complete control over everything that happens, allowing events to unfold naturally. The former anxiety is replaced by a deep and unshakable sense of inner stability. This process of liberation unfolds not turbulently or demonstratively, but rather quietly, calmly, and maturely, as if an imperceptible click occurs within the soul, proclaiming, "I am no longer afraid." Thus, the period of summer and autumn 2025 is not a time of struggle for existence, but an era of conscious choice. Individuals of the Taurus sign will no longer subject their lives to fears of, what if something goes wrong, freeing themselves from past limitations. The former burden recedes into the past, giving way to a qualitatively different form of freedom, expressed in stability, thoughtfulness, and dignity. Financial well-being, genuine feelings, and deserved respect cease to be incidental bonuses, becoming a direct consequence of these individuals' refusal to play the role of being convenient. Any fears hindering active action will disappear. The influence of Ophiuchus shatters all illusory supports, yet grants them the most valuable right, the opportunity to be themselves, without a shadow of fear, without needing to apologize for their authenticity, without a feeling of life's weariness, but only with a deep joy for existence.